We're back.
After all the
Technical.
difficulties.
So today we're going to talk about the new ADU laws.
Yes.
Accessory dwelling units, back homes, guest home, whatever. There's different names for it. Granny flats. But in California, there was a new bill passed, a new law, AB-1033.
Correct.
And we were going through it and we were trying to figure out, because it looks like it's going to lead to a lot of opportunity, but it's a bit confusing. So maybe we can talk about it, figure it out together, and people can research also on their end. What did you find about this law, this new ADU law?
First of all, the reason we're talking about it is because everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a bunch of investors calling us and asking this and that and whatever. So it's going to change the playing field for, ADUs moving forward. The best thing to do about this is, if you are in a particular city and you have a particular property that you think that you can build on, go straight to the city and find out how that particular city is implementing this law. Because in all the research I did, and we've done, and the good thing here is that you do your own and I do my own, so we come with different perspectives.
Correct.
This is a state law, okay? And
Yes.
let's say this ruling has passed, okay? But the municipalities, the cities, and the counties are going to apply the law potentially differently.
Right.
Okay?
And we can get into that because the cities have to actually opt in to participate.
Correct. So
That's one of the things.
here's the answer to all the riddles out there. Go to the city where the property lies.
Right.
You can do all the research in the world, you can listen to all the podcasts in the world, but just know that there may be some variations in the city that the property lies in.
Right.
So let me save you a ton of headaches and
Go to the source.
go to the city where the property lies and ask, how does this new AB 1033 is being applied within your city?
Right.
Because there's going to be modifications all over the place.
So what is so impactful? Why is this particular ADU law so important from what you researched?
From what I've researched, they're going to allow you to sell the ADU as a condominium. Okay? And that implies all kinds of things. We keep an open mind. Is this an opportunity? Absolutely. Some people think, oh, it's so complicated, this and that, but it's an opportunity. So what's happening is that there's two things that you need to be aware of immediately, okay, with this particular law. And that is something called plat mapping, okay, and small HOAs. Plat mapping is the process in which you take a property and via a couple processes, you turn it into a condominium. And then that condominium is going to need some type of HOA. So
HOA is a homeowners association.
Correct. And the homeowners association is going to have to be put together by an attorney. Okay?
And that homeowners association, do they create the CCNRs, what they call within that?
Yes.
Which are CCNRs are what? Covenants?
Something in restrictions. Covenants.
We can pull it up. But
In
basically,
restrictions.
it's all of the rules of that association.
Right. Correct.
Yeah.
So The CCNRs are going to be able to tell you, what do you own exactly?
Exactly.
Do you own the walls? Do you own the interiors of that condominium? How do you access the property? What limitations do you have to access the property? It's also going to tell you, is there an easement? And if there is an easement, who has the use of it? Or do you share it?
So to just
Two
keep
more
it
things.
simple,
Can you rent it? Because some condominiums may say you cannot rent it
right?
because there's for 55 and older. And then finally, what upgrades? So
Yeah.
all this stuff, okay, is very simple, especially the upgrades, has to be put together by an attorney.
So the condominium, when they say, because I'm reading the summary of it's the analysis of AB 1033. I have it here.
Yeah.
And basically, it says it allows cities and counties that have local accessory dwelling unit ADU ordinance to allow ADUs to be sold separately or conveyed from the primary residence as condominiums.
Correct.
And the word condominium, so I've owned a condominium, so I'm familiar with that association and what that condominium, how it worked. But it was walls in. You own the airspace from the walls in. That's what I owned.
Right.
I didn't own the land.
Right.
I didn't own the structure.
Right.
I owned the airspace from the within that
Inside walls.
inside wall. So the moment I opened the door, that's what I owned, what was in there. But I didn't own the stairs leading up to it. That was, there's different words.
There's common areas.
There's common areas.
Right.
Yeah, there's common areas.
So it's simple, folks, and it is an opportunity, because at the end of the rainbow, you're going to be able to get a property, build an ADU, sell it, and then get that income, and you can either pay for the property you're living in and live for free, or you can invest it somewhere else. So it is an opportunity, but you're going to have
the
to
ins and outs.
You're going to have a little bit of research. One of the things that I saw because I did a lot of research on this, as you did, I saw that people were getting confused between what a plat mapping is and what is a lot split. So with this particular law that just passed in California, my humble belief is that you're not doing a lot split. Okay? A lot split entails that you're going to have a surveyor come to the property, survey the property, do several other processes and analysis, and then formulate a division, present it to the city, and so forth and so on, and you're going to end up with two different lots. Okay?
Two parcels.
Two parcels.
And you could sell one of them.
Right. This is not, well, you're going to be able to sell the condo too, but it's going to be one parcel. So this is not a lot split. So that's another difference that needs to be cleared out over there, out in the public.
Because a lot of, even when we were talking with friends, it was like, oh, so I can build the ADU and then sell the ADU. And, well, you can sell it it looks like as a condominium. But who owns the land?
Well,
that was the question.
Well, okay. So that's why you need an HOA. Because what happens is now, for insurance purposes, and we're in the insurance business too, but I mean, we're real estate, you're going to have to insure it accordingly, because now you're going to have some common areas.
Right.
And that's going to be designated by the attorney that puts together the HOA.
Right.
Okay?
So they're mini HOAs.
So the mini HOA or the tiny HOA.
Tiny HOA.
Yeah. And it's all cool. It's just a matter of being informed.
Yeah.
And again, I'll save you a lot of grief and suffering. Go to the city where the property lies, because you can listen to all these podcasts, do all the research, but potentially each city is going to develop this in their own particular way.
Yeah.
You have to figure out what the setbacks are, and so forth and so on.
And for those that are just getting familiar with the ADU, they've heard it, they've heard about junior ADUs, all these different terms.
Right.
There's differences between a junior ADU, an ADU, um, and or an additional unit.
Yeah.
So this is different because the way that it was being done before was that, let's say you owned a single family home and you built an ADU. If you ever sold your property, you would sell your house that came with an ADU.
Right.
And you could, in some places, rent that ADU or have family live in that ADU and things like that. This is different because you gave the instance, like you potentially could move into the condo that you built, ADU, and then sell the primary residence, the single family home in front. That's one scenario. You could also sell would you be able to sell the primary the condominium and keep the primary residence? That's what it seems like also.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say the answer to that is yes. That's why this law came about. But there's a lot of little things that need to be addressed, like the 5 that I just mentioned. Actually, there were, 5. You're going to have to find out, who's going to get assessed, okay, when upgrades are needed. Now you got 2 people, 2 different structures, right? But what if you have a lot, let's say 20-something thousand square feet, and you have 3 different properties, or you have 4 units, let's say, right? You have 3 units, you had an ADU. Now, you need to figure out how that changes the scenario on the existing one. And there'll be a lot of questions. Yeah. For example, people are confused between a lot split and a plat lot, which is mapping, which is turning that particular unit in the back or ADU into a condo type, okay? And there's a lot of, you just have to go to the city, folks. Arm yourselves with a lot of patience and know that this is going to be a process that's going to take time, and that will save you on increasing your blood pressure, raising your blood pressure, okay? When you talk to city officials, know that they're human beings and they're good people, and they are under a lot of stress. So go in there with a big smile on your face, and don't create any more pressure on them than they already have. Be kind, be gentle. You're going to get a lot further with that attitude than anything else. And for example, one of the things that I learned, because I wasn't big on the ADUs, okay? But, they're part of life. And we just bought a property, right, for one of our investors with an ADU in it.
Yeah.
And the ADU, for all of you out there, is generating the highest income in that particular lot. And
right.
There was another duplex in the front. But the ADU is generating the highest income.
It was a brand new ADU, yeah.
Yeah. And there's all kinds of regulations. For example, if you're in the LA area and you're building a brand new ADU from scratch.
New construction, yeah.
New construction, you need what?
You need solar panels.
Solar panels.
I was asking a buddy, and he was sharing that's in the state of California.
Oh.
And new construction requires solar panels.
There you go.
So
the ADU qualified for that because it was new construction, so they had to put solar panels on it.
Correct.
The duplex in the front was existing. It was just remodeled, so they didn't have to put solar panels on it.
And I think everybody, we're learning as we're researching this, and so, we may get some things wrong or things can change.
Things will change.
So everybody do their own homework and their research, but we wanted to shed light on it. This is one of the ideas behind this bill, is that it's supposed to make property more affordable, because typically you see a condominium, it's less, the price to buy a condominium is typically less than a single family home.
Right. I think what it's going to do is going to increase the amount of construction for 2024. people will see an opportunity in this, and it will benefit some people. And you have to weigh your pros and cons, because does the current property with the ADU worth more at this moment than, for example, having the condo and selling the condo individually? For example, when you have let's say you have a lot with one property and an ADU, that ADU rent comes in the form of revenue that adds to the value of the property. So, but there'll be people that potentially will benefit from selling the ADU as a condominium, because now they have this influx of money that they may be able to invest in an opportunity that has come up, like a business venture or something like that. So it's definitely going to open doors for more mobility of money and the economic growth of the state.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Something interesting that I learned with this was that, there's different heights also for ADUs. So you can build a 2-story ADU, okay? Now, cities will put a restriction on heights depending on your project. For example, the normal ADU apparently is around 16 feet, okay? But there are a couple of things that may be available within your project that will allow you to build not 16 feet, but 18 feet. But those 2 additional feet, Mike, are huge, because that's the difference between building a 1-story ADU and a 2-story ADU. So if your city limits you to 16 feet, you're stuck with a 1-story. But if for some reason, your project allows this restriction to be a little bit lax and they allow you to go 18 feet, now you can do a 2-story ADU. Now, another thing that I learned is that if the ADU is attached to the primary residence, your city might allow you to build up to 25 feet high. Okay? So this height restriction alone shows everybody that they need to go to the city and dive in and figure out what the differences may be. Because if, for 2 feet, you're thinking, oh my goodness, 2 more feet. Let's add them on and let's do a 2-story ADU.
Yeah.
Because that sounds like a lot. You get more space, you have more living area, etc., etc. You can charge more. It's probably more expensive on the sale when you turn it into a condominium. So, however, the city may restrict you to 16 feet. Okay? Very, very interesting. And one thing that's out there that very few people know apparently is that if you are half a mile away from what's called a high-quality transit corridor, or half a mile from a major transit public stop, the cities will allow you to build up to 18 feet, therefore you can put a 2-story condominium. But this was stressed heavily. Half a mile from a high-quality transit corridor, whatever that means, and then or half a mile from a major transit public stop. Those, if you're within half a mile of these things, then you're going to be able to do an 18-footer, and therefore now you can do a 2-story. So definitely, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
And it creates a ton of questions.
A ton of questions. Overall, it looks good. I mean, it's a positive thing. More construction and congestion, but we need the housing in California.
We do.
Now, and it's supposed to be more affordable because it's a condominium. And I wonder if that's why they said condominium as opposed to just being able to sell it
as
out
a single-family residence.
Home. Yeah.
Probably.
I wonder why. There were a couple questions that you brought up, like, do you share a driveway now? Is there a easement? What happens? Also, I really liked How to ADU, his YouTube channel, Ryan.
Oh, okay.
He explains that some cities may also have deed restrictions.
How to ADU?
How to ADU.
Okay, I'll check them out.
He says some cities might have deed restrictions with ADUs. So, for example, or junior ADUs. So he says really be careful, because when you submit and you're doing your plans and everything, and let's say you're gonna build an ADU, they may require you to be owner occupied to build that ADU, as opposed to, let's say, an investor who buys a single family home and builds an ADU. So, and that deed restriction, he said, might even pass on to the new owner. So it would require the new owner to owner occupy the primary residence, let's say, the single family home. So anyways, those are things to really look at, because some people did not know about these deed restrictions.
With all the research, all the reading I did, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So he's got a good channel.
Very good information. But the questions were, some of them were, who's gonna, do you share the driveway? How do you get access to this? Who owns the land? All of those things you brought up are gonna be solved in the CCNRs,
right,
written by the attorney.
So where I was looking and reading and so forth, they stressed the point that the CCNRs must be drawn up by an attorney. You know, you can't go to a property manager that does not have a law degree and have the property manager, even with all the experience in the world that they may have, and they may be very, very good, you cannot have a property manager draw up your CCNRs. Okay? It has to be done by an attorney.
Mm.
And preferably a real estate attorney, because you know we have different types of attorneys. You don't want,
right.
I wouldn't go to a living trust attorney,
an accident attorney,
or an accident attorney to draw up the my CCNRs for my ADU.
You also brought up, because it's a condominium,
Mm-hmm.
you brought up there may be requirements of how many can be rented out, or can it be rented out?
Right. The CCNRs could restrict that.
And
like
I do remember
55 and over or whatever.
Yeah. I remember when I was buying the condominium in San Bernardino County, San Bernardino, California. There was a requirement. Let me see. I'm trying to think if it was the lender or if it was if it was a lender or if it was the actual condominium association that had a requirement where you couldn't have more than a certain percentage. And I don't remember if at the time it was like 75%.
If I'm correct, I think that was the HOA.
The HOA. So the
Yes.
HOA couldn't have more than, let's say, 75% of the properties
Correct.
tenant occupied.
Correct. I
They
believe that was the
wanted-
HOA.
Yeah, they didn't want like it to turn into apartments. They wanted owners to live
Right.
in a certain percentage of the
When at all possible,
condominiums.
correct.
Yeah. So
Right.
those are restrictions that the CCNRs will lay out.
If I remember correctly, that was a restriction in the CCNR. Also, the CCNR is going to tell you, for example, right now I own my house. If I want to paint the front wall of the house purple, I can do it. Nobody can tell me I can't put a purple color on that wall. But you're not going to be able to put that purple or, bright metallic green
You
on
may
a
not.
wall. You might not be able to do it
Yeah.
because the CCNR is going to restrict you from doing that.
Right.
There was one, we just sold a property where the window broke, remember? And the young lady called the...
It was a condominium.
It was a condominium, and they were telling her what kind of window she was able to put there. She
Yeah.
wasn't able to put any type of window. They had to put a specific type of window to keep the
Uniform.
motif. Yeah, the motif, the uniformality or whatever with the, so...
Sure. Yeah, all of those things. Association dues.
And that window wasn't available right away. So she had to put a piece of plywood for 3 weeks
Wow.
until the window became available.
Um,
So, and you know, arm yourself with patience so your blood pressure doesn't go up, you know? And then,
Yeah.
because these things involved quite a few people. It's going to create jobs, attorneys, assistants, all over the place, you know? And it's going to move the economy forward, and some people are going to benefit from it, and some people may not be so benefit from it, you know? It'll help
but you
some.
think
And
overall it's going to lead to a lot of construction,
I do believe.
and it's going to be overall a positive thing?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think ADUs overall, I would say, have been positive. What do you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The fact that the state came in and mandated it, and then it's like it's your right,
Yeah.
and then now the city has to. You still have to go to the city.
You
though.
have to go to the city and
And-
find out what their regulations are in
Right.
order to be able to.
Yeah, because some people think, oh, I could just convert this attached garage, or I could just convert a detached garage. And, well, you have to. The city's gonna tell you, oh,
You need to
based
do
on-
this and that and whatever.
right. But it, like we had a situation. There were 3 units, and we went to the city doing research, and the city said you should be able to convert the attached 2-car garage to a 4th unit. But there's a lot of requirements you have to meet, and it's not that easy. It's not just like you can do it.
Right. It's not that easy. You're absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
The city passed the ruling or the ordinance, whatever
The
you want to
state.
call it.
The
The law.
state.
I mean, excuse me. I'm sorry. The state did.
Yeah.
But the cities and counties are going to implement it with their little twist and turn of whatever regulations they're
Right.
going to do.
Yeah.
And be prepared. You know, expect the unexpected. Okay? And
Yeah.
then that way you're going to be prepared, because
Do your homework before you close on when you buy, and you're doing your due diligence as an investor, as a homeowner, potential homeowner. Do your homework.
Do
Go
your
to the
homework.
city within your due diligence period,
right.
or maybe even before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, for example, yeah, absolutely, you got to go. For example, we had one case where they were, I think the ADU was already there, and they were doing some upgrades. But in order to get those upgrades, they needed city permits, so they went to the city, and the city said, "Oh yeah, sure," but they sent out a city inspector to the property. And the city inspector found 1 or 2 other things that needed improvement or upgrading in that property. And they said, look, before you can get green light on the ADU, you're going to have to repave the parking and the entrance, because there are cracks all over the place, and this is unacceptable or whatever. So the city requested that the owner of the
It
property
wasn't as easy as just putting it
repave so you know, make sure your property's up to par, make sure that the grass is cut, you know, that everything looks nice, and you're bringing in a city inspector to your property. Expect the unexpected.
Yes. Another thing that I wanted to read here. Okay, the 4th point on this analysis of AB 1030. What was it? 1033.
1033.
1033. Requires that if an ADU is established as a condominium, the local government must require the homeowner to notify providers of utilities, including water, sewer, gas, and electricity, of the condominium creation and separate conveyance, and makes technical changes for chaptering purposes. I don't know what that piece means, but in terms of the water, sewer, gas, electricity, will they need their own meters? Electrical,
Oof, that's important.
gas, that'll
Yeah,
that's super important.
absolutely.
So those are questions that one will need to ask, and
Yeah, just like any new construction in LA needs solar panels.
Yeah.
That's an added expense that,
Yes, it is.
you know,
Yes, it is. That
And-
will
and-
get passed if you sell it. That will get passed if you you will have if you keep it.
right.
Yeah.
And it's not cheap, folks, okay? And that involves a whole different organization, business entity that you need to deal with.
Yes. The California solar mandate went into effect January 1st, 2020. The mandate requires all new residential construction projects have solar photovoltaic photovoltaic PV systems installed. This includes single-family homes, condominiums, and apartment buildings less than 3 stories high.
So it went into effect
There
in
are some
2020.
exceptions. This is according to the DECRA.com.
So January 1st of 2020
Yeah,
for California.
correct.
The
Solar
so-
PV systems and Solar Ready California Energy Commission. So yeah, that's interesting too because the California solar mandate, new constructions must have solar panels. Existing homes are not usually required. So new construction, I think, is treated very differently than conversion.
Right.
Like a friend of mine converted a structure into a second unit, and he was able to get away with, let's say, some exceptions.
A second unit or an ADU?
That's the thing, from what I understand, it's a second unit.
Okay, that's different.
It is, but that's from what I understand. He was able to convert it to a second unit.
Okay. So he would be able to sell that property and say 2 units on a lot. Does he have 3 or 4 or just
No,
two?
it's a single family home.
It's a single family, and he was
It would have like its own address. And
Right,
It would
okay.
and it would have its own meters,
okay.
electrical, water, and everything.
See, that's interesting. That brings up a question in my mind. Could I potentially turn that second unit into a condominium and sell that and get income out of that? And is it
Right.
worth it to do that? What's the value of that compared to saying I have 2 units on a lot, this is the price? How does the benefit come in? So, it just brings up. But anyway,
Yeah. No, it's
I
a lot of-
apologize. Go
This
ahead,
was
finish
in-
your thought.
No, this was in LA City. But what he was saying is that he was able to get away with certain, like he had some exceptions because it was a conversion of an existing structure that was attached to a 2-car garage. There was a structure attached to the 2-car garage.
Okay.
And he built on that, extended it, and made that structure. But
Do you know if he needed solar panels?
no,
He didn't need them.
no.
That's cool.
But it wasn't a new build.
Right,
It wasn't new construction.
right.
So
It
that's
was-
what he
conversion.
was saying was that if it would have been new construction, he would have fallen under these new requirements
Sure.
of energy requirements.
Solar mandate.
Solar mandates, but also energy efficiency.
Oh,
There's a lot of things like you have to seal from the stucco to the drywall. You have to do like a different form of sealing because it was a new construction. But if it were new
If it
construction,
were,
but
yeah.
because it was a conversion, he was able to get away with it.
and
So
he got
anyways.
city approval for everything.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. And I asked him. He said he's about to get the certificate of occupancy.
see that example you just brought up is powerful.
Conversion.
Yeah, it's powerful because you're throwing into the mix, and go to the city, folks.
Yeah, go to the
Yeah,
city.
go to the city, do your due diligence, get involved. If you're gonna do a project like this, arm yourself with patience. Put a smile on your face.
Yeah.
I take donuts when I go to City Hall. I walk in there with a box of donuts, and they say, "Who's this crazy guy?" But I bring food, and then I say, "By the way,
Yeah.
can you show me
Help
how
me
this AB-1033 helps?" Take them donuts.
Yeah. Anything else you
Sandwiches.
want to throw into to this mix?
No, it's confused enough.
Well, hopefully we at least shed some light.
Yeah.
And then people can go, and we'll link up the legislative law, the AB 1033. We'll link up the How to ADU. Ryan had a
Yeah,
really good channel.
I like
And
this.
then a couple articles that I looked into and you looked into as sources. And do your homework.
Do your homework.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.